In this video, we're going to be showing you our in-house BMW project, which is a track car project that's just a bit of fun for us in the workshop, really. And it's going to be a car we're building, so us and like the guys here can take this around track and have a bit of fun. So this car is a BMW e46 330 Ci. So it's not an M3, it's a 330 Ci, so it's a little bit cheaper than an M3, and it means we can be a bit more aggressive with this build, take a lot of weight out, cut a lot more out. And the goal of this is to effectively try and compete with an e46 M3 Club Sport around Oulton Park. So we've nicknamed this the M3EATER project. The 330 Ci has only 228 brake horsepower as standard, compared to 338 with the BMW M3 E46. And to achieve the same sort of power to weight ratio, this car is going to have to be looking at around the 1,025 kilo mark, which is really, really light. So we'll struggle to get down that low, but that's the target. And as close as we can get to that number as possible is what we're going to aim for, whilst keeping it a safe car to use on track as well. We're going to take you around the car a little bit now, just show you where we're up to with this project, because we have been working on it a while, but we thought with the YouTube videos coming out more frequently now, we could put a bit more time and energy into this build and have it as part of a YouTube series as opposed to the article series, which is where it's been up to now. So we're going to walk you around, show you where the build is currently up to, and then what we plan to do over the next few videos as we build this alongside our F80 M3 project. We received this car as a track car when it was built, so it's got a few bits on it already. Some things we reversed as well. So what we've done so far is we've effectively focused on stripping the car back and getting as much weight out of the car as possible. So the bonnet has gone, the roof has gone, and the boot has gone. So they were all metal as standard. We've also cut every bracket and every piece of metal out the inside that we didn't deem necessary anymore. Taking the dashboard out as well. The sound deadening has all been removed. Got a little bit more of that to do still, so we're partway through that. We've taken all the glass out, so we're going to be replacing all the glass windows except the windscreen with plastic windows to get the weight down as much as possible. We're going to be replacing the bonnet, roof and boot with carbon fibre parts as well. So the plan there is not only are we taking weight out of the car, we're also putting lighter panels back in places high up to get the centre of gravity as low as possible in the build. So we're taking weight out of good areas as well. So we want to focus on where the centre of gravity is going to end up height-wise on this chassis, which is really important. This car, when we received it, already had the e46 M3 front brakes and rear subframe fitted to the car. So it's got thicker shafts, it's got the brakes off an e46 M3 as well as an e46 M3 CSL ABS system, which is a really nice upgrade. So that all came with the car as is. We've opted for Aerodynamics 18-inch wheels for a few reasons. One is they're a really lightweight wheel. The second is they're easy to come by, and if you damage one, they're relatively cheap to replace as well, because this is just an all-out track car, so we need to keep those things in mind, and also keep the idea of budget in mind with this car as well, because we're trying to make it quite an achievable build and quite relatable as well. So yeah, Aerodynamics are a great option for the purpose of this. We're going to be running slicks on these as well, so that's the reason we chose the 18-inch rims, is so that we can run slicks on the car. So they're quite easy to come by in those sizes, so we thought we'd opt for that to keep the tyre options as open as possible. The coilovers that came with this car are a budget coilover. It's so corroded that we can't actually read any brand on there, so we're not actually entirely sure what coilover kit this is. That's going to be coming off the car, and we're going to be replacing that with a more premium coilover to help us make the chassis work much better and ultimately put the traction down and get the grip as good as possible through the corners. At that point, we're also going to be showing you a little bit about how a budget coilover compares to a premium coilover and what the difference is there and what you're actually paying for. So that'll be quite an interesting little sector we're going to be touching on. Another key feature of this build is going to be aerodynamics. So the two main things we're focusing on are chassis and suspension. And as part of the chassis, with the weight reduction, we're also going to be looking at aero implications. So with this car, we're looking at a nice underbody aero. So we've got a nice big chassis mounted front splitter to the car. We've made this out of buffalo board, which is quite common practice in motorsport. It's a nice, easily sourceable material, quite cheap to make a splitter from. So we're keeping budget in mind throughout this build as well. We could easily have just gone for a full carbon fibre splitter, but any impact damage on that, it costs a fortune to replace every time. Whereas the buffalo board ones are fairly cheap to make another one with. We're then going to flat floor the car as much as possible. And at the back, we've got a carbon fibre rear diffuser that we've got made for the car already. So that's going to be going on there and also be chassis mounted. This is going to run into implications with the exhaust system, because we want to get that floor as flat and undisturbed as possible to ensure that the underbody aero is actually functional. to get this car as much downforce from the underside of the car as possible. So we're going to be looking at taking the exhaust up and out through the rear boot or rear bumper section, just to give us the clearance on the underbody to run that flat floor all the way through. The interior is currently as sparse as it's going to be. So what we're going to put into here is some Corbo bucket seats, nice lightweight fiberglass bodies. We're then going to be putting some chassis mounted harnesses in, and we're also going to be fitting a half cage at this point in the build. We might look at moving to a full cage further down the line for more safety, but for now we're really focusing on keeping the weight down as much as possible. So obviously a full cage is going to add a lot of weight back into the car, and we're also trying to keep it into budget. So the cheap sort of lightweight materials we could use to get a full cage in there are out the question at the minute. So we're going to be putting a half cage in. So we've got some safety factors back into the car, but we're also keeping that weight down as much as possible. The engine in the car is the 3-litre NA engine that comes with the 330 Ci. We're not going to be tuning this engine. We're not going to be modifying it in any way. It's got an air filter on it right now. That's where it will stay. That was what came with the car as well. So we're going to keep that engine as is, because the whole point of this build is displaying really how much can be done just by tuning chassis and suspension systems, and the massive gains that can be made just by touching those two areas and not even looking at power. Because power is all well and good for getting the throttle down and picking up pace, but ultimately, if the car can't go around the corner fast and it can't stop well, then the power is borderline worthless on a circuit. So we're going to be focusing on going around the corner as fast as possible and stopping as fast as possible. And them two things come mainly down to suspension and chassis. So that's it on the M3EATER project. So we're going to get the dust blown off it, we're going to get cracking back on, and we're going to get it built up for its first track day in the coming weeks and months, and we're going to keep you guys updated with the progress of it.